Let's begin with an uncomfortable truth. Your brain is already addicted. Not to knowledge, not to growth, not to mastery. No, it's addicted to cheap dopamine, the flicker of a notification, the endless scroll of short videos, the tiny red dot that whispers, "Someone noticed you." And here's the terrifying part. Your brain cannot tell the difference between scrolling TikTok and studying quantum physics. It only understands one language: dopamine. The currency of motivation, the chemical of anticipation, the invisible force that decides what you pursue and what you abandon. And right now, your brain has learned a dangerous equation. Effort equals pain. Scrolling equals reward. Which means every time you sit down to study, your brain quietly rebels. You feel it instantly. You open the book. 30 seconds later, your hand drifts towards your phone. Not consciously, instinctively. Because deep inside your nervous system, a prediction engine is running. It's asking one ruthless question: where is the fastest dopamine? And studying? Studying loses every time. Not because you're lazy, not because you lack discipline, but because your brain is doing exactly what evolution designed it to do: seek the highest reward with the lowest effort. This is the law of the modern mind. And once you understand this law, everything about your struggle suddenly makes sense. But here's the twist most people never realize. Dopamine is not about pleasure. Let me repeat that. Dopamine is not the chemical of pleasure. It is the chemical of anticipation. It spikes when your brain believes something rewarding is about to happen. And this single insight reveals something dangerous. Your phone has trained your brain to expect instant reward. Swipe, reward. Tap, reward. Scroll, reward. Thousands of tiny dopamine hits per day. Your brain becomes conditioned like a lab animal pressing a lever. But when you open a textbook, there is no lever, no flashing light, no instant reward, just effort, confusion, delayed gratification. So your brain panics. It whispers, "This is boring. Let's do something easier. Just check your phone for a second." And that whisper is powerful because it's not a thought. It's a chemical craving. But what if I told you something strange, something almost unfair? What if you could retrain your brain to crave studying the same way it craves social media? What if solving a math problem felt like winning a level in a game? What if opening a book triggered the same anticipation your brain feels before opening a notification? It sounds impossible, but it's not, because your brain is not fixed. It's programmable. And there's a method neuroscientists quietly use to exploit this fact: a psychological loophole in the dopamine system. A strategy I call dopamine loading. 3 phases: simple, uncomfortable, and devastatingly effective. But before we explore them, you must understand the first rule of dopamine. Dopamine is relative. Your brain doesn't measure pleasure in absolute terms. It compares experiences against your baseline. If your baseline dopamine is high, everything feels dull. If your baseline dopamine is low, even simple things feel exciting. This is why the modern brain struggles to study, because we live inside a constant dopamine storm. Music, notifications, videos, games, endless stimulation. Your brain never gets bored anymore, and boredom is the birthplace of motivation. Without boredom, there is no hunger. Without hunger, there is no pursuit. So the first phase of dopamine loading is brutally simple, and most people fail right here. Phase 1, deprivation. Before studying, you must starve your brain. 30 minutes. No phone, no music, no conversation, no stimulation. Just silence. Maybe a slow walk. Maybe sitting by a window. Maybe staring at the ceiling like a bored philosopher from the 1800s. Your brain will hate this. It will itch. It will whisper, check something, open something, do something. But that discomfort, that is the reset beginning, because when stimulation disappears, dopamine levels fall. And when dopamine falls, your brain becomes hungry again. Hungry for reward, hungry for engagement, hungry for novelty. And that hunger becomes the weapon. But here is the paradox. Most people run from boredom. They see boredom as suffering. In reality, boredom is the ignition switch of focus. Let me ask you something strange. When was the last time you were truly bored? Not mildly distracted, not half watching something. I mean genuinely bored. No screen, no noise, just you and your thoughts. For most people, that moment hasn't existed in years, which means their brain has never had a reason to chase deeper rewards. But when you embrace boredom, you unlock the second phase. Phase 2, priming. And this step sounds almost ridiculous, but neuroscience says otherwise. Before opening your book, close your eyes. 2 minutes. And imagine yourself studying successfully. Picture understanding a concept. Picture solving a difficult problem. Picture finishing a study session and feeling that quiet internal victory. Your brain doesn't distinguish strongly between imagined success and real anticipation. So when you visualize the reward, dopamine begins to rise before the work even begins. You are hacking the prediction engine. You are teaching your brain something new. That studying leads to victory. And this creates a subtle shift. Instead of dread, your brain begins expecting reward. And expectation is the birthplace of dopamine. But this is where the final stage becomes critical, because anticipation without reinforcement collapses, which leads to the third phase, the one that transforms studying from punishment into a game. Phase 3, amplification. This is where you manually attach dopamine rewards to effort. Not massive rewards, that would destroy the system. Small ones, strategic ones. Every 25 minutes of studying, you pause. 2 minutes, stretch, walk, drink water slowly, breathe. No phone, no social media, no high dopamine poison. Just a mild reward, just enough for your brain to recognize the pattern. Effort, then reward. Effort, then reward. And slowly, quietly, your brain begins learning a new association. Study, win. Study, win. Study, win. And once that association forms, something extraordinary begins to happen. But here's the warning. The first 3 days will feel like war. Your brain will revolt. It will demand the easy dopamine it's used to. It will tell you this system is stupid, pointless, too slow. But that resistance reveals something important. You are breaking an addiction, because cheap dopamine has been controlling your attention like a puppet master. And the moment you challenge it, it fights back. But if you endure, something strange happens around day 4 or 5. A shift. Subtle at first, then undeniable. Studying begins to feel good. Not amazing, but satisfying. Solving a problem delivers a tiny dopamine surge. Understanding a concept triggers a quiet rush. The brain begins rewiring itself. But this is only the surface of what's happening, because beneath this transformation lies a deeper psychological law, one that determines whether your brain becomes addicted to growth or returns to craving distraction. And if you break this law, your dopamine system will reset overnight, which means everything you built will collapse. So in part 2, we uncovered the hidden enemy of dopamine loading, the one habit capable of destroying your focus in a single afternoon, and the strange daily ritual that turns studying into something far more powerful than discipline, something closer to addiction.